Hello everyone, and welcome to my new guide. As always, written by Creo and narrated by Verlifel. In this video, I want to talk about Passivity and Tactics. Unlike other sword fighting games, Jedi Academy combat can be nearly contactless and very slow-paced. This happens when at least one duelist plays passively or forces another player to be passive. As a reminder, being passive means frequently staying further away than one saber range from an opponent during your mid-swings, or striking too rarely. Tactics and passivity can help you beat a much better opponent if they are impatient or not in the mood for a long duel. The downsides are boredom, lack of improvement, and potential toxicity. There are 3 reasons people play passively in Jedi Academy. The first reason is that some want to fight only when it's completely safe for them. Depending on their knowledge of the game and the enemy skill level, that moment of complete safety can be very rare, and they become passive. The second reason is to mentally exhaust their opponent, make the outcome of the duel less about positional skill and more about patience. The third reason is tactics. Namely, when the enemy invites you to a swing exchange during which you know beforehand you will either get hit or not do any damage. Unlike the first kind of passivity, where people wait for a completely safe time to engage, in this case you are waiting for the moment when engaging is merely not suicidal. The vast majority of people who rely on tactics do so unintentionally and don't hold themselves accountable for the other player being passive. The passive player always gets all the blame, while the tactical player usually doesn't even know what tactics are. Technically, anything can be tactical against an easily scared duelist, but also nothing is tactical against someone ignorant or uncaring. I will share all the main tactics and some ways to engage a tactical opponent, but keep in mind that they are usually very risky. Ignore all my advice on how to play aggressively against tactics and just stay out of the enemy range if you want to win the duel. Let's begin with stance switching. The surprise element only works one time because after you have switched once, your opponent will always expect you to use a fast stance again. This makes switching tactical and leads to passive duels in the case where red stance is used for most of the time. I recommend using just yellow against switchers because it puts them at a big disadvantage every time they play red. If you don't know yellow that well, then offensive jumps, fast swings and idle parries with red are your best bet. Another popular unintentional tactic I see all the time is wrong swing timing. If they counter too late, you can't really land your attack anymore, and if they attack too soon, you will counter too late and won't hit them either. Against late counters, you could try low jumping. As for premature attacks, you can interrupt the strike with a delayed swing of yours or counter it with an AW slash. In my opinion, switching and wrong swing timing are the 2 least effective and least sensible tactics, so I would never recommend using them. Jumps and swings other than the D swing can be tactical too, especially spammed AW and AS slashes and jump attacks, and especially against beginners. It's way harder to react to something like this than to regular D swings on the ground, but better players might still handle it aggressively. Watch my other videos to learn more about that. Moving on, idle and start swing parries make sense against overly aggressive jump and ground attacks, but the enemy has to really run all the way into you. The best thing to do against idle parry is to bypass it by aiming to the left or right. You could also try breaking through it by getting very close, but that's very hard to do. What I like to do is letting my late end swing get idle parried and then hitting them with a WD slash. Another strong tactic are fake attacks. There's nothing the defender can do against them that won't favour the attacker. As the one countering, you could try mind games and run all the way toward the enemy, but then you just put yourself in their hands. You could low jump them as well, but that's easy to roll away from. The last 2 tactics I want to cover are attacking from a close distance and countering from a long distance. These are the most versatile tactics because they allow you to make your advantage very small over time, to the point where you stop being tactical. 3 main threats to the tactical attacks are hit cancels, fast swings like AS or AW, and start swing parries. Be ready to start swing block or dodge a fast swing, and don't initiate attacks closer than 3/4 of a saber range. It's also possible to counter tactical attacks off path, shifting the deciding factor for the outcome of the fight from distance to mind game. Tactical counters are all about pre-swing movement. You simply have to be way further away than one saber range from the enemy at all times except your mid-swing. The main threat to tactical counters are jump attacks, so be ready to start swing block, crouch under them, run out of range, or counter off path. Like I said, feel free to go completely passive against any of the mentioned tactics. Nobody is required to engage at the time they know they are most likely going to lose, and it's silly to ask such a thing of anyone.